Me 28, work as an in-house graphic designer for a mid-sized marketing firm. It's not exactly my dream job, but it pays the bills. The hours are decent and my coworkers are mostly sane. My closest work friend is Sarah. We started around the same time, bonded over our mutual hatred for the office's terrible coffee machine and a boss who uses Comic Sans in presentations. Sarah is my gateway to Chloe. Chloe is Sarah's best friend from college. I've met her a handful of times at happy hours or Sarah's birthday parties. She's one of those women who immediately commands a room. Tall, great smile, always impeccably dressed. She works in PR and you can tell. She's got that polished, confident vibe down to a science. But Chloe is most famous for the rules. It's not just a set of preferences. It's a goddamn manifesto for her love life. I first heard about it one Friday night at a bar. Chloe was complaining about a guy she'd been on 2 dates with. He was nice, she said, swirling the ice in her gin and tonic. But I had to cut it loose. He's a teacher. Sarah sighed. Chloe, we've talked about this. What's wrong with a teacher? It's not about him being a bad person, Chloe explained as if to a child. It's about ambition. The salary cap is too low. Rule number 4. Must have a 6-figure salary or at least a clear path to it within 2 years. I almost choked on my beer. She had them numbered. Of course she did. Over the next few months I learned more of the rules, either from her directly or through Sarah's exasperated retellings. Rule number 1, must be at least 6'0". She's 5'9" and loves heels. Fair enough, I guess. Rule number 7, no roommates unless it's a temporary post-breakup situation. Rule number 12, must be well-traveled. I'm not going to be his cultural tour guide. Rule number 19, must have a respectable job. Finance, law, medicine, tech. Teachers, artists, and, God forbid, graphic designers need not apply. It was a laundry list of superficiality, a Build-A-Bear workshop for a perfect partner. I found it all pretty bleak, but it wasn't my life. I just nodded along whenever it came up. For what it's worth, I didn't fit a single one of her major rules. I'm 5'11", my salary is firmly in the 5-figure range, and my idea of a wild vacation is renting a cabin a few hours away. I was so far off her radar I was practically in a different solar system, and I was fine with that. Then, about a year before her 30th birthday, Chloe met Mark. Mark was, on paper, the perfect man, the final boss of the rules. He was 6'3", check, worked in private equity, 6-figure salary, try 7, double check, drove a black Audi that was always clean, owned a minimalist condo with floor-to-ceiling windows. His Instagram was a curated feed of him on a sailboat, him skiing in Aspen, him shaking hands with some minor celebrity at a charity gala. Chloe was over the moon. He's the one, she told Sarah and me one evening. He just gets it. We're on the same wavelength. What she meant was that he met all the qualifications. I met him once. We were at a rooftop bar for Sarah's promotion. He showed up late, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent. He gave me a handshake that felt more like a bone density test, asked me what I did, and the moment I said graphic design, I could see the interest drain from his face. He just nodded, said cool, and immediately turned his attention back to his phone. For the rest of the night, he barely spoke to anyone but Chloe. He seemed less like a person and more like an accessory she had brought with her. Sarah felt it too. There's just nothing there, she told me later. Their conversations are like 2 AI chatbots exchanging data points about their week. But he ticks all the boxes, I said, a little cynically. That's all she sees, Sarah said, looking genuinely worried. She's so focused on the checklist, I don't think she cares about the actual person holding it. As Chloe's 30th birthday approached, the talk turned to a new, even more important topic. A proposal. Chloe was convinced it was going to happen. He's been dropping hints, she'd say, a giddy smile on her face. He asked my ring size for a surprise. We've been talking about the future. It's happening. She planned a massive 30th birthday party at a trendy, expensive restaurant downtown. It was clear she was setting the stage for a grand public announcement. The week before the party, Sarah and I were grabbing lunch. I have a bad feeling about this, she said, pushing her salad around her plate. About the party, about Mark, he's distant. And Chloe is so blinded by the idea of him, the idea of getting engaged before 30. It's the ultimate deadline for her. I didn't know what to say. I had a bad feeling too. Mark didn't strike me as the type to commit to anything he couldn't liquidate. The night of the party arrived. The place was packed. Chloe looked stunning in a silver dress. She was glowing, a nervous energy buzzing around her. Mark was there, playing the part of the devoted boyfriend. He schmoozed with her parents, laughed with her friends, and kept his arm wrapped protectively around her waist. The whole night felt like a countdown. Every time someone clinked a glass, the room would fall silent for a second, expecting the big moment. Finally, after dinner, Chloe's dad gave a short, sweet speech. Then Chloe stood up, thanked everyone for coming, and looked over at Mark. "And a special thank you to Mark," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "This past year has been the best of my life. This was it." The air in the room was thick with anticipation. Mark stood up smiling. He reached into his jacket pocket. I saw Sarah hold her breath next to me. He pulled out a small, rectangular box, not a ring box. My stomach dropped. He handed it to her. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Chloe's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, but she recovered quickly. She opened it. Inside was a diamond tennis bracelet. It was beautiful. And it was painfully, obviously not an engagement ring. "It's beautiful," she said, her voice a little too high. "There's a card, too," he said, handing her a small envelope. The whole room was watching. It was so quiet. She opened the card. Her eyes scanned the words inside. I was too far away to see her expression clearly, but I saw her shoulders stiffen. The color drained from her face. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with a confusion that was rapidly turning into horror. He just gave her a small, sympathetic smile, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. She folded the card, put it in her purse, and forced the brightest, most brittle smile I'd ever seen. "Thank you all for coming," she announced to the room. "Please enjoy the cake." The facade was perfect, but the spell was broken. The energy in the room evaporated. People started making excuses and leaving. Mark was one of the first to go. He gave her a kiss on the cheek, whispered something in her ear, and was gone. By 11 p.m., it was just me, Sarah, and Chloe left in the private room, surrounded by half-eaten cake and deflating balloons. As soon as the last guest was out the door, Chloe's perfect posture crumbled. She sank into a chair, put her head in her hands, and let out a single, gut-wrenching sob. Sarah rushed over to her. I just stood there awkwardly, feeling like a total intruder. After a minute, Chloe took a shaky breath and pulled the card out of her purse. She handed it to Sarah. Sarah read it, and her face hardened into pure fury. "That absolute bastard." She handed the card to me. "My dearest Chloe, happy 30th. This has been a great year, and you've made me realize so much about what I want. I think we both need the freedom to be sure we're making the right choices for our future. I think it's best we see other people. I'll always cherish our time together. Yours, Mark." He broke up with her, in a birthday card, at her 30th birthday party, in front of all her friends and family. It was the most brutally efficient act of cowardice I had ever witnessed. He didn't just break up with her. He took her carefully constructed world, her rules, her deadlines, and her expectations, and he detonated it right in front of her. The next few weeks were radio silence. Chloe went completely dark. She deactivated her Instagram, didn't answer calls, and told Sarah she needed space. Sarah was worried sick. "She won't even let me come over," she told me at work. "She just keeps texting back I'm fine, but I know she's not." One Friday, Sarah came to my desk. "Hey, I know this is a weird ask, but could you do me a huge favor?" "Depends. Does it involve Comic Sans?" "No," she laughed weakly. "I was going to drop off some food for Chloe, just leave it at her door. But my mom just called, her basement is flooding, and I have to go help her. I know you live only a few blocks from Chloe's place. Could you?" I hesitated. Me. The guy who didn't even register on her dating rules Richter scale. The one Mark dismissed in half a second. It felt like I would be the last person she'd want to see. I don't know, Sarah. I feel like that would be super weird for her. Please, just drop it at the door. You don't even have to see her. Just text me when it's there. I sighed. Okay, fine. That evening, I picked up a bag of soup and sandwiches from her favorite deli and drove to her apartment. I walked up to her door, my heart pounding for some stupid reason. I felt like I was trespassing. I put the bag down, pulled out my phone to text Sarah, and the door opened. It was Chloe, but it wasn't the Chloe I knew. Her hair was in a messy bun. She was wearing old, faded sweatpants and a stained t-shirt. No makeup. Her eyes were red and puffy. She looked human. She stared at me, then at the bag of food, then back at me. Her expression was a mix of confusion and total exhaustion. Anan, her voice was hoarse. What are you doing here? Sarah was worried, I stammered, feeling my face get hot. She had a family emergency, so she asked me to drop this off. I was just gonna leave it. I started to back away. I'll just go. She just stood there for a second looking at the bag. Then she looked at me. Do you want to come in? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. My brain screamed no, abort mission, but I heard myself say sure. Her apartment was spotless, which somehow made the whole scene sadder. It was like the rest of her life was in perfect order except for her. We sat at her kitchen island. I unpacked the soup and sandwiches. She just watched me. You don't have to do that, she said quietly. It's fine. You should eat something. She didn't touch the food. She just stared into the middle distance. He broke up with me in a birthday card, she said, as if I didn't know. I know, I said softly. It was a shitty thing to do. I did everything right, she said, her voice cracking. I had a plan, a good job, a nice apartment. I found a man who fit every single one of my rules. It was supposed to be perfect. She finally looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. Why wasn't it enough? And right then, I didn't see the PR queen with the ironclad rules. I just saw a sad, lonely person who got her heart broken in the most humiliating way possible. I don't know what came over me. Maybe it was the sheer rawness of the moment. Because they were stupid rules, Chloe. The words were out before I could stop them. I braced for impact. She just stared at me, shocked. Your rules weren't a plan for happiness, I continued, my voice softer now. They were a shield. A checklist to protect yourself from getting hurt. You weren't looking for a person, you were looking for a resume. You thought if you found a guy who was perfect on paper, he couldn't possibly hurt you. A tear rolled down her cheek. He wasn't supposed to. No one is, I said, but real people are messy. They don't fit in boxes. Mark wasn't a person to you, he was a prize you thought you'd earned. And it turns out he was just as shallow as the list you used to find him. I thought she was going to yell at me, to kick me out. Instead, she let out a shaky breath that sounded suspiciously like a laugh. A resume, she repeated, a watery smile touching her lips. God, you're right. She finally picked up half a sandwich and took a small bite. We sat there in silence for a while. Then she started talking. She told me about the guy in college who cheated on her. The guy after that who was emotionally unavailable. She explained that the rules were born from a deep-seated fear of being left, of not being in control. The more she talked, the more I saw the real person behind the polished facade. A woman who was smart and funny and deeply insecure. I stayed for 3 hours. We just talked. It was the first real conversation we'd ever had. When I left, she walked me to the door. Hey, Anan. Yeah, thank you, she said, for the soup and for not being nice. I smiled. Any time. That night was a turning point. We started hanging out, platonically. It started with me texting to check on her. That turned into us grabbing dinner once a week. We'd go to cheap, hole-in-the-wall places she'd never have gone to with Mark. She was different now. The armor was gone. She asked me about my work and actually seemed interested. She told me about her own job, the parts she loved and the parts she hated. We watched bad movies at her apartment. I introduced her to a bunch of classic sci-fi films she'd never seen. She made me watch sappy rom-coms and then we'd make fun of them together. It was easy. There was no pressure, no pretense. I learned that she had a weirdly encyclopedic knowledge of 90s hip-hop. I learned that she was a terrible cook, but she made a genuine effort. I learned that she was fiercely loyal to her friends and family. One night, a couple of months into our new friendship, we were sitting on her couch, watching an old movie. I looked over at her. She was wearing an old college sweatshirt, her hair was a mess, and she had a little bit of popcorn stuck to her cheek. And my heart did a stupid little flip. Oh no, I had feelings for the rules girl, the one who would have written me off based on my job title alone. I didn't say anything. I was convinced I was just the rebound, the nice guy friend she needed to get over the asshole. I wasn't going to ruin the best friendship I'd made in years by being an idiot. A few weeks later, we were walking through a park on a Sunday afternoon. She was telling me about a guy her friend tried to set her up with. He was nice, she said. Good job, pretty handsome. Yeah, I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. My stomach twisted itself into a knot. Yeah, I just wasn't interested. She stopped walking and turned to face me. All I could think was that it felt so boring compared to this. She gestured vaguely between the two of us. I spent so much time looking for someone who ticked all the boxes, she said, her voice soft. I never stopped to think about what I actually wanted, what actually made me happy. She looked me right in the eyes. And this, talking to you, laughing with you, this makes me happy. My brain went into overdrive. Is this happening? Is she saying what I think she's saying? And then, before I could process any of it, she leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't a dramatic, movie-style kiss. It was gentle and a little hesitant, and it was the most real thing I'd ever felt. She pulled back, her face flushed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. I cut her off by kissing her back. We started dating after that. We took it slow. There were no rules, no expectations. We just were. Fast forward a year and a half. Be almost 30. We're at Sarah's wedding. I'm one of the groomsmen. Chloe is a bridesmaid. She looks beautiful in a simple, elegant dress. She catches my eye from across the room and gives me that small, secret smile that's just for me. During the reception, we're standing by the bar, laughing about something stupid the best man said in his speech. Then Chloe tenses up beside me. I follow her gaze. It's Mark. He's standing a few feet away, talking to some people we don't know. On his arm is a 20-something blonde who looks like a carbon copy of how Chloe used to present herself. All polished confidence and designer clothes. He sees us. His eyes lock on Chloe, then on me. He sees my arm around her waist. He sees the way she's leaning into me. His polite, superficial smile falters. Just for a second, I see a flicker of something in his expression. Surprise, confusion, maybe even a hint of regret. He sees Chloe, looking happier and more radiant than she ever did with him, and she's with me, the graphic designer. The guy who wasn't even worth a full sentence of his time. He gives us a curt, awkward nod and quickly turns back to his date. Chloe doesn't say a word. She just turns back to me, squeezes my hand, and rests her head on my shoulder. You okay? I ask quietly. I'm perfect, she whispers, and she is. Her dating rules backfired in the most spectacular way possible. They led her to humiliation and heartbreak, but they also stripped away the artifice and the fear and forced her to figure out what was real. And in the wreckage, we found each other. We're not the power couple she once dreamed of. We don't have a curated Instagram life. We have nights on the couch with bad movies, we have stupid arguments about whose turn it is to do the dishes, and we have a quiet, comfortable love that doesn't need a checklist to be validated. Sometimes things have to fall apart so they can fall into place, and I'm so damn glad they did.